Welcome to a TLDR boss preview for Vault of the Incarnates, because judging unfinished dungeon journals is all we can do at the moment, and who doesn't like making fun of melee players? These bosses are all very unfinished, but we'll take what we can get. Dathea Ascended is after the Primalist Council and has two phases based on energy. The main phase sounds like the boss is in the middle of the main platform and could be a fixed boss. Tanks always need to be in melee range or she'll pound your cheeks, with the usual damage taken increase and knock you away. Each hit increases the knockback, and I really want a tank to take as many of these as they can to get yeeted into oblivion. Rushing Wind is tornadoes that push you away. Air Crescendo is an airstream that deals damage and a nasty dot. Marked Tempest makes 4 players deal splash damage, then creates a tornado at their feet. Squall Burst is a swirl that leaves shit on the floor, so don't stand in either of them. Cyclone is a giant suck, and if you get sucked underneath the boss, you'll be knocked high into the air and probably fucking die. And Razor Winds is a raid-wide dot. At 100 energy, the boss summons a storm that kills anyone on the center platform at the end of the cast. While casting though, everyone gets a buff called Weightless, which increases movement speed and makes you jump higher so you can get to the outer platforms. She summons ads on the platform which channel into her, making her basically immune. Each ad summons storming tornadoes every 6 seconds to make everyone's fear of Mythic Plus affixes in Raid come true. Everyone takes increasing ticking damage, so kill all of the ads before your healers start bleeding out of their ears. And once they're dead, they drop something that gives you the jump buff back to get to the main platform. Sounds like a fun fight, with lots of players being knocked off the edge. Next is Broodkeeper Diurna, who has 2 phases, but only the first phase is detailed. The main phase is about destroying the eggs around the room using the boss's staff. The eggs stop the boss from dropping below 1% health, increasing for each egg alive. Every so often she slams her staff into the floor, and if you click it, a laser starts following you. Run the laser over the eggs to destroy them, but each pop deals raid-wide damage and increases the explosion damage by 250%, so you can only pop 1 at a time. Or if you have Giga Chad healers, you can pop 2. And this helps deal with the next ability, Rapid Incubation. The boss empowers 2 eggs, increasing damage done by nearby allies by 100%. Whenever you destroy any eggs, they summon a whelp that fixates on a player. If the empowered eggs hatch though, there's an ad called Juvenile Frost Proto Drake, which could be what hatches instead. Either way, the drakes deal heavy damage and a nasty dot, and AoE damage to anyone within 50 yards. If they appear, they'll probably fuck you up, so try not to panic lust or run into a wall or something. The boss casts Icy Shards, swirls that deal damage and reduce movement speed. Living Flame Bolt summons an orb with an impact point, but the text here is a little bit mixed up. Basically, it deals damage with a stacking dot to anyone near it, then it comes back to life and gives anyone in the impact location a debuff that throws out swirls. Anyone hit by the swirls also starts throwing out swirls until the whole raid is swimming in swirls, so don't get hit, swirls. Mortal Dragon Claws is the tank hit with a stacking dot and a healing reduction, and absorbs are included too, so fuck you disc priests. The rest of the journal entry is listing various ads in the fight, without much context of how they appear, so I'll just quickfire them. Legionnaires deal damage with a slow. Mages basically deal lethal damage if not interrupted, so spend those talent points wisely. Earth Reavers need to be tanked with a stacking armor reduction and throw rocks in a frontal cone to dodge. Flamebenders do damage to anyone in 50 yards, dealing 20% health and healing itself for 200% of the damage done. And it also summons turrets that deal damage in a rotating cone. And Stormbringers have a cast that need to be interrupted, or it stuns and damages you and buffs his movement speed. And they also target some players to do splash damage. Phase 2 presumably starts when you destroy all of the eggs. The boss gets a damage buff and empowers her existing abilities, but the empowerments aren't actually listed. The only one listed is the empowered staff, which will constantly target someone with the beam, making them draw dicks with it until it swaps or the boss dies. Without context on the ads, it's hard to tell what the fight will actually look like, but there seems to be a lot going on. And the last boss of the raid is Raszageth, the Storm Eater. There's so little information here, I'm only going to skim over it. Hurricane Wing is a big pushback with raid-wide damage, and each cast increases the pushback. Electrified Jaws is the tank hit that also gives a dot and makes the tank drop a static field, which deals damage and slows anyone standing in it. This could be interesting if it's used to avoid other abilities. Fulminating Charge targets someone, then deals splash damage to anyone within range and jumps to the nearest player. That player then deals splash damage again in a smaller range until no one is hit and it fizzles out. Lightning Strike is a swirl that summons an ad, which needs to die before it reaches full energy or it becomes unkillable. And it casts Chain Lightning, which needs to be interrupted. Lightning Breath is a frontal that will probably kill anyone hit, and Spiteful Radiation is a raid-wide dot that deals more damage to a couple players. And that's all we have on the end boss of Dragonflight's first tier. When we get some raid testing going and some more solid fights, the TLDRs will return for each boss individually. But until then, I've got some other stuff cooking. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.